Question: does online gaming, Twitch streaming, eSports, do these things have the ability to form and forge new and lasting friendships between actual human beings? Is the online community really a community? See, I've been thinking a lot about how Magic the Gathering compares to other games, and I'm not the only one. There's been a lot of talk about how Magic is struggling to compete online with games like Hearthstone and Hex, that games like League of Legends and Dota trounce Magic in terms of online viewership. And while there are many, many factors to this, one of the biggest is simply that these other games are easier to just sit down and watch, whereas Magic has a lot of problems as a spectator game. But Magic has something these other games lack. There's something it does better than those games, perhaps better than any other game. By the way, before I go on, I really want to make clear this is not a video where I'm going to say Magic is superior to Hearthstone or Hex is superior to League of Legends or blah, 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 whatever. This is not about any one game, Magic or otherwise, being an overall better game than another, nor about attacking anyone's enjoyment of any one game over another. I have long been of the belief that if you are having fun playing a game, then you are doing it right. Different games do different things differently, and we are all different people, and thus we will enjoy things differently. And that's great. This is a video where I want to talk about one area where I think Magic excels over some of these other games, because so often the narrative is how Magic fails in so many areas compared to them. So along those lines, let's talk original Innistrad. Innistrad is thought of as one of the best sets of Magic the Gathering ever made, and I am finally going to come out and say that yes, original Innistrad is my favorite Magic the Gathering set ever. And for me, it's my favorite not because of the masterfully designed cards, no, but because of that one quality that Magic the Gathering not only possesses, but excels at above all others: the social experience. Original Innistrad is the set that I returned to Magic the Gathering during, and it's the set that my wife first learned to play Magic during. Our favorite decks were the ones we played in Standard during that time. Innistrad was our first pre-release. I won Dark Ascension Game Day with my favorite deck, a French Rites build, and my wife, many months later and many months pregnant, won Gatecrash Game Day with her much more personally tuned Aristocrats brew. For the entire time that Innistrad was in Standard, without fail, my wife and I made it to every Friday Night Magic. I remember once early on we were running late and called to let the store know that we were just going to be 5 minutes late, and we were indeed on our way to F&M, and the owner already knew us from our voices and knew our names, and I was surprised by this. After all, you can frequent other businesses, restaurants, other storefronts to the point where they know your face, know what you like to order perhaps, but how often does the waiter or waitress learn your name or anything about you? But at your local game store, going down to those Friday Night Magics and those game days, people learn a lot about you, and people learned about us, much more than our names. This is the Friday night experience, after all. Chatting between rounds, forming connections. Strangers learned we liked Dungeons and Dragons and invited us to join their D&D group, and now are no longer strangers but dear friends. Others found out that there were board games we had never played and invited us to sit down and play them. Books were recommended, television shows and movies endorsed. Conversations were had, friendships formed. How, as an adult, does anyone make a new, strong, real friend? Answer: through Magic the Gathering. And it even strengthened already existing relationships. My wife and I, who have been together now 15 years, were able to sit down each night and play Magic together. We talked Magic, played Magic, shared and interacted with each other in new and exciting ways thanks to Magic the Gathering. At our house, a regular game night formed with friends from the card shop. One D&D campaign led to the next. Drafts happened at birthdays and Christmas. All this because Magic the Gathering is a game you play in person with other people, and thus it promotes interaction, it promotes socialization, it encourages friendship, and most of all, community. But does this sort of thing translate to online gaming? Certainly it does. There are vibrant communities in games like Hearthstone and League of Legends and Dota, and heck, we are friends with a married couple that met each other through World of Warcraft. Ask any Twitch viewer what they like about viewing Twitch games, and they'll tell you. It's the interaction with the person playing the game and the interaction with others in the chat. It's each other. It's the community. Absolutely this exists online. So I am not for a minute, not 1 minute, going to say that this is not also true for Hearthstone, League of Legends, etc. Gaming. Gaming in all of its forms, whether online or in-store, whether in your living room or with new people. Gaming by its very nature is about community. But Magic the Gathering not only is a game that fosters this community, but my argument is that Magic the Gathering inherently is more successful at it, largely due to the nature of Friday Night Magic and other in-store events. Instead of trying to look at what other games do better than us, we should celebrate what we do better and invest in developing that. And I believe that Magic's social connections from Friday Night Magic can and will translate to the online experience if we invest in them. Right now, I am playing in the Community Super League, which, if you did not catch our premiere episode last Thursday night, you can check out the YouTube archive here. I like that this community league is a bit of an experiment in the idea of fostering that community. It's right there in the name, that socialization. It's not just built on the premise of watching the best players that there are. I mean, how could it be? They invited me. And anyone who caught my grudge match against Wedge from the Mana Source knows it certainly wasn't me showing off my mad magic skills. Oh, poor Marshall on commentary. He just did not know what to make of what he was seeing. I mean, I started out strong and I still won in the end, but...
All right, and it looks like we're going for main phase collected company from the professor here. I don't know why. This is a misstep from the professor.
Yeah. Professor, you have 9 cards. You can stop drawing.
Holy crap.
Yeah, hey, I'm a professor. I don't do. I teach. But I like that this is called the Community Super League, that it fosters fun and enjoyment and socialization in the Twitch chat, that actually is its premise, that actually is its goal. This is a great thing. And speaking of original Innistrad, this Thursday we are playing Innistrad Plain Constructed, making decks only from cards from the 3 original Innistrad block sets, as well as Shadows over Innistrad. And thus that which was lost is not completely lost. And I am pulling out my favorite deck ever from old Innistrad Standard. And my wife is pulling out hers, and we are looking at how best to replace the non-Innistrad cards that were in those decks with cards from the new set. And so, based upon our testing, I will either pilot new versions of my old French Rights deck that I used to play and love, or her old Aristocrats brew, based on which we can make more successful. So come see it all this Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific on Twitch. And speaking of communities, wow, 135,000 subscribers here at Tolarian Community College. It happened so fast I didn't have a chance to do the 130K Q&A, but post a question in the comments of this video and I'll try and answer as many as possible for the next Q&A, which should be in the next week or so. You know, I reject the cynicism that Magic players are antisocial or selfish or cruel. I reject that fully. We literally just witnessed our entire community rally together. Every player from every walk of Magic life in full support of our pro players who were being unfairly discarded and denied fair pay. And that is damn impressive. That's why Magic the Gathering players are awesome, and that's why this is a game about community. And this is what Magic has that it cannot abandon. Don't look at what Hearthstone is doing and say, how can we imitate that? Look at what you do better than anyone else and wave that as your flag in this game and, yeah, in your own personal lives. But, I mean, yeah, also invest in streaming and digital media and overhaul Magic Online, overhaul it big time, duh. But you get my point, right?
This is Professor just rubbing the value in at this point, too.
Oh, yeah.
What a monster. I've met the Professor, and I'm like, he's a nice guy. I might have been wrong about that. This guy's a monster. Put him away, Professor. He's had enough.
And the Professor's saying, you need to deal with me. You need to notice me. And that's what's happening right now.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Professor just snap off this clue. He loves the clues. This is just a thumping from the professor. Jeez, professor, you are savage. He literally had lethal on the table, and he's like, no, I will attack for -11 damage. And that does it. The professor wins the first match of the Community Super League game.